We are sharing, right? Let's share. And we'll share. What are we going to share? All right, just have to do it again. Here we go. These technical problems are very aggravating. Here we go. The Bereshit. Good. Share a screen. Yes. Yes. Very good. Share screen. Here we have chapter of base. Aleph. Okay, great, wonderful. So you hear me? You hear you see the what's on the screen? Yes. Good. Great. Good. Okay. Thank you. All right. Let us forge ahead. After these things, so God's tested Abraham. And Nisan Abraham, he tested Abraham, and he said, oh, see, and he said to him, Abraham, and Abraham said, Hineni, here I am. After what things? It says, after the words shall the devil said to God. Now you might ask a question, what is this going on? What's going on over the devil and God? Well, the devil is a certain creation. It's an angel that Hashem makes, and he gives him the job to make trouble. That's his job, to make trouble. When you see the book of Job also starts with the devil. In any case, the devil is talking to God and he's saying, Makatrig, and he's becoming like a prosecutor. And he's saying, Mikol Sudasha, so Avram, Lo Ikriv Lefanav Parachad, Oilachad. When Abraham used to make a big meal, he used to sacrifice and he used to prepare one ox or something. Klum asa elo b'shvil. Everything he did was only for the sake of his son. Right? All this work that Abraham did was only his son. But if I would tell him, sacrifice your son, the devil said, if I would tell him, sacrifice your son, right? In other words, if you, God, would tell him, sacrifice your son before me, I'm sorry. Well, right. I'm sorry. Everything Abram did, he sacrificed only one ox and one this. The devil said back to him, everything he did was only for his son. And God said back to the devil, if I would tell him to sacrifice more than that, he wouldn't stop. In other words, the devil was saying, come on, God, you gave him everything. What's he doing? He's only sacrificing one ox for you. That's all he's got. He should sacrifice everything. And God said, listen, the whole reason he was sacrificing the oxen was only to have a son. And if I would tell him to sacrifice his son, he would also do it. And so the devil said, okay, let's see. Another Achrei Devarim, after the words of Yishmael. Yishmael, Yitzchak's brother, he also made a challenge. He used to brag on Yitzchak, and he would say that I was circumcised when I was 13 years old, and I didn't resist. Yitzchak said, and it was you were circumcised when you were 8 days old. If you would have had a chance, if you were 13, you might not have done it. Yitzchak said, okay, now I'm more than 13. At that time, he was 37 years old. You're just talking about one limb of your body where the circumcision is. That you were willing to devote, to make a sacrifice to God. If God would tell me, sacrifice yourself, if God said, sacrifice yourself before me, I wouldn't stop. So God said Abraham, in any case, God said Avram, and Avram said Hineni. What does it mean? That means that's the way Hasidim do. It's anava. Here I am, whatever you want. He didn't say, what do you want, God? What do you want? I'm ready. Just tell me what to do. So God says to him like this. Vayomer, God said, Kach noad bincha yechidcha, take your son, your special one, the one that you love. And Rashi's going to say that Abraham said, well, both Ishmael is also my son. He's unique to me. I also love him. Finally, God said, take Yitzchak. Another reason that God did it was to break it to him gradually. Lech lech al eretz Moriah, go to the land of Moriah. This land of Moriah, this is going to be the place where the Beit HaMikdash is, where the Moriah. Rashi gives two reasons. Moriah, from the language of to show. This is where the Sanhedrin showed the laws of the Jewish people. They decide the laws. And the other one is because that's where the incense was sacrificed. And sacrifice him over there. Sacrifice your son, la'olah. Now, it doesn't say really sacrifice. It's just bring him up as a sacrifice. I mean, too, it's a little bit vague what God was saying, but not that vague. And when you bring an olah, means you go to kill him. But God later on is going to say, I didn't say to kill him. I just said to bring him up. To one of the mountains that I'm going to show you. Which mountain is it going to be that I'm going to show you? So it says that this is a big secret. Who says this? I looked at all the. He says, Rashi says that where is this Moriah, Eretz Moriah? This is Jerusalem. And also in Chronicles, it says, build a house by Jerusalem, Bahara Moriah. Why is it called Moriah? Because that's where Hora'ah, where the laws go out to the Jewish people. But Unkla says because of the Ketoret, the incense that was sacrificed there, more was one of the Moriah. So that's what Rashi says. God said, take him up to sacrifice him. God didn't say kill him, so that God really didn't want him to kill him. He just wanted to bring him up on the mountain. But nevertheless, Abram did not understand that. Abram understood that God wanted him to sacrifice him totally. Go up to one of the mountains. God says God confuses tzaddikim. First of all, he confuses them. He makes it seem like things aren't going the way they're supposed to. And afterwards, he reveals to them, why is this? In order to increase the reward of Avram. This is what he says. Where is this? The Malbim. I don't remember which one it was. All right, let's go further. I should have written down which of them are fortunate, but that's one of them. It says that God kept this as a secret from everybody. Nobody knew where this mountain was. No one knew where it was. And this eventually, he showed it to Avram that this is going to be the place where eventually the Mizbeach was going to be built and where the Holy Temple was going to be built, in the place of the Akedah of Yitzchak. So it says Avram woke up early in the morning and he saddled his donkey and he took his two boys with him and also with Yitzchak. Who were the two boys? Rashi says it was Yishmael and Eliezer, his servant. And he chopped wood and he said, and he went to the place where God was going to show him. So it says he woke up early in the morning. The Alter Rebbe in the Tanya, he derives from this that Abraham did it with great happiness. That's what he says, Nizdarez b'mitzvah, that he did it very quickly. He was happy to do what God wanted, even though that logically it was the most impossible thing for him to do. It should have been the worst possible thing. By the way, here the Rebbe also makes says, God says, Kach na, please take your son. This is the previous sentence. Please. And Rashi says, what does it mean, Kach na? It's na means a request. Please take your son. God said, please stand in this test. God is saying to Abraham, please pass this test that I'm giving you. Shalo yomro rishonim shalo elam bal mamash. So that everyone won't say the first 9 tests, this is the last of the 10 tests, right? The first 9 tests, there was no substance to them. So the Rebbe explains in a very beautiful sikha that what does this mean? That Abraham went through these terrible tests. He was thrown into a fiery furnace, and his wife was abducted, and God told him to go to Canaan, and there would be food, and he would be great, and there was nothing there. It was a famine. God put him through these terrible tests that he had to go through. Lech lecha, he had to wander around. Why is it that this test, God said, please pass this test. If you don't do it, then everyone in the world will say that the first test meant nothing. There was no substance. And anyway, the Rebbe explains that what exactly is a test? A test is something that seems to be coming from nature and that has really no purpose to it. Right? It just seems to have no purpose. We're talking about a test with God, right? A test with God. Let's just talk about a test with a normal person. You make a test, right? Somebody says, I'm your best friend. You can trust me. You can rely on me, right? And all of a sudden that person gives you to the government, says it makes a lie about you to the government. You're cheating on your taxes and they put you in jail for 5 years, right? So you said, well, what type of a thing is that? I thought and the person said, listen, the reason I informed on you and I gave false evidence, put you in jail, is because I was testing you. I was testing to see if you're really going to be my friend or not, if you're really my friend. So what type of a crazy, of course I'm not your friend. What would you do a thing like that for? And what is it worthwhile to be your friend? A person like you, I wouldn't want to be your friend. Well, that's what a test is with God. God promises Abraham. Abraham's telling everybody that God is good and that God is powerful and that God creates everybody and that God provides for you and that you can trust God and you should be God's partner all the time. You should be happy to serve God. And all of a sudden God says, take your son and kill him. Well, that's Abraham's whole life was his son. And he was 37 years old and Abraham was 137 to take him and kill him. How could it? So he says, this is the ultimate test. The Rebbe explains how there was absolutely nothing for Abraham to gain from taking his son. Not spiritually, not physically, not emotionally, absolutely. He was going to lose on all fronts. He was going to lose all the people that he had convinced. He was going to lose his whole future. He was going to lose basically all of his values that he had, not killing, not sacrificing your children. Who sacrificed their children? There was just one principle that he was devoting himself totally to, and that was serving God. God is the creator. What God says to do, we have to know it's always for the best, even though it seems it's totally the worst. So Abraham did it, he did it. Says the Alter Rebbe in the Tanya that the main test was not so much that he did it, but how he did it. He did it vayashkem baboker. He did it, he woke up early in the morning. He was quick. He was happy to serve, to do what God wanted. Okay, so now you might think, good, he was happy to do what God wanted, but how long can you keep up this happiness? It says, here we go, ready? Bayom HaShlishi, on the 3rd day. So God schlepped this out for 3 days. Abraham to walk with his son for 3 days and take him to kill him. Avram lifted up his eyes and he saw the place far away. He saw that God was making a sign of what the place is. He saw the place. He saw that there was a cloud over this one particular mountain. Avram knew. Rashi also says, why did God draw it out for 3 days? Why? For 3 days? Because so that people wouldn't say, okay, Abraham just sort of went crazy. Hamamui went crazy. And quickly, he just took his son and he killed him, right? He didn't think about it. So here he took it 3 days. He had a lot of time to think. He didn't have time. Now he had a lot of time to think. And nevertheless, he was still maintained the same happiness all the time. In other words, by Abraham, we see every second was brand new. Every second was brand new. It was like every moment he was doing what God wants. Every moment he was connected to the Creator. Avram said to the 2 boys, you stay here with the donkey, and me and my son will go and we'll come back to you. V'nashuva, and we'll come back. Oh, what did he mean, we'll come back? How did he know they were going to come back? So Rashi says, Nitna b'sheyeshvu. It was a prophecy. He received the prophecy and he didn't really understand what it was. We'll return. Avram took the wood, he put it on Yitzchak, and he took in his hand the fire, and he took the knife, and they all went together. It's the ma'achalas is called, another name for a knife. I want to get to this last part where Yitzchak said to his father, Avi, my father, and he said, here you go, my son, here I am. And he said, here's the fire and the wood, where is the sheep for the sacrifice? Okay, I would like to give my explanation over here, what's going on. What's going on over here? What happened? Yitzchak said to Avram, his father, Avi, my father. What does the Torah have to tell us this? Yitzchak said to his father, and he said, Father? And he said, here I am. And he said, here's the, what is this by Yomer Avi? It should be that it just says, Yitzchak said to Avram, his father, Hine Aish, here's the fire. What's this thing that he said, Father? And Avram said, here I am, my son. Okay, now I'm going to tell you what I think. That Yitzchak was going with his father, and he realized, okay, now the question is, good, his father is taking him to kill him, or he's taking him to sacrifice. And Yitzchak, he understands what's going on. He gets the point, what's going on. So the question is, why did he go along? Why did Yitzchak go along? I mean, he wasn't told to do anything by God. God didn't speak to him at all. A young man can think to himself, listen, either my father, he went a little bit off his mind. I mean, he's 137 years old. You know, up to now he's been really great, but you know, maybe all these 9 tests that he went through, maybe it sort of scrambled his mind. Maybe he's hearing voices. Maybe he's just totally, you know, out of it. He's just making a sacrifice. Maybe he's forgot about his humanness. He's just become a religious fanatic, my father. This is my explanation, right? So I'm not going to go with him to let him kill me. So he said, well, let me find out. Let me test this. So Yitzchak said to his father, Avi, my father, tell me, are you still my father? I mean, we're still, you know, remember that you're my father? You know, you love me. And he said back to him, Hineni beni, here I am, my son. I know who you are. I'm your father. You're my son. I still love you. Believe me, what I'm doing is the right thing. So now this goes into what the Alter Rebbe says, that the main thing was not what Abraham did, but how he did it. He did it with great joy. It says in the 21st chapter of Igeros Kodesh, it says he did it with great joy. When Yitzchak saw the joy of his father, he knew to himself, listen, this does not come from insanity. Joy like this can only come from serving God. And now I see also that my father still recognizes me. He knows who I am. He knows who he is. This is obviously something godly that's above understanding. And so we went. He says, where is this? So that's the way I understand it. Take it or leave it. Avram said, you're asking me where is the sheep? Avram will show us the sheep. And they both went together. Rashi says that Abraham was saying, Kalomer, God will show us. Kalomer, Yireh v'yivchar lo oseh. God will find a sheep. V'im ein seh lo'olah. V'im ein seh, and if there's no sheep, lo'olah, beni, then you will be the sacrifice. Yitzchak now understood that he was going to be slaughtered. And they went together with a complete heart. It says, Vayilchu shneim yachtav. Nevertheless, they both went together. Yitzchak, who did not hear anything from God, he went together with his father, who did hear from God, with the same exact heart. They went together, yachtav. I was going to say this again, we're going to see when they come back. They came to the place where God told them. Avram built an altar. He put on the fire. He tied up Yitzchak, and he put him on top of the wood. Okay, here we have an interesting thing. Let's see if I can find this over here. If we would just have more time. Yeah, okay. He put him on top of it. We're going to see later on that somebody says, what does it mean he put him on top? Mimal le'etzim. It should say, he put him mimal ha'etzim. So let's see, this is going to be the Yalkut Shimon. Let's just go further. Let's go further, because I want to get to this part about the ram that they saw caught. Vayishlach Avram es yado. Avram sent forth his hand. V'yikach es hamachal. He took the knife. Lishchor es beno, to kill his son. Vayikra olav malach Hashem. An angel of God came from heaven, and he said, Avram, Avram, and he said, Hineni, I'm ready. Vayomer, he said, Al tishlach yadcha lanar. Don't set forth your hand on this boy. Va'al tas lama uma, and don't do anything to him. Rashi is going to say that Avram said, listen, maybe I'll just make a little mark on him or something, so that it'll be God told me to take a sacrifice. I want to make some sort of a sacrifice. I want to do what God said. He said, don't do anything to him. Don't do anything to him. Don't stretch your hand for it. Don't do anything. Because now I know up to now you've been serving God just from love. And now I know that you also have fear of God, awe of God. You put yourself totally to aside. You did not withhold your son, your only one, from me. Avram lifted up his eyes, and he saw, and behold, Ayal Acher, here is another a sheep. Okay, now there's a lot of different opinions, because it doesn't say Ayal Acher. It says Ayal Achar. The word Achar means after. Acher means another one. But it doesn't say that. It's, of course, it's passed down from generation to generation. What this is, because in the Torah scroll, there is no punctuation. It's passed down from generation that he saw Ayal Achar. He saw a ram after. Now, after what? Let's just look at some of the explanations on this. We're going to see. Nechaz b'svach b'karnad, that he was caught in a bush, in a tree, by his horns. And Avram went and he took this ayil, he took this ram, and he sacrificed a sacrifice in place of his son. Okay, does this make any sense? Not really. I mean, God told him to sacrifice his son, and an angel came and told him, don't do it, and that's it. Abraham finished the test. He did the test, passed with flying colors, test that he had, and he was willing to sacrifice his son, and he didn't. That's it, right? It's not it. Afterwards, Avram lifted up his eyes, and he saw that there was all of a sudden this ram. It says in Pirkei Avos that this ram was created right before Shabbat. One of the 10 things that were created Erev Shabbat. Where is it in the 5th chapter of Pirkei Avos? One of the things that was created Erev Shabbat. Here it is in the 5th chapter, the 6th Mishna in the 5th chapter of Pirkei Avos. That one of the things that was created, these weird things, right? These strange things, the mouth of Bilam's donkey, and this is one of the things, the pit that Korach fell into, and one of the things was this ram was ready there from the beginning of creation. So let's just look at a few of these things. Well, let's do the last sentence. Here we go. Avram sacrificed this ram, and he called this place Hashem Yireh. God appeared. Asher Yomer Hayom Bahar Hashem Yireh. So this is the secret place. This is what he says over here. Hashem Yireh. It says, now all of a sudden Avram understood what was going on. That in the future there will be the altar built. And that's what it says, Yireh Hashem. This is the place where God will appear always. And every sacrifice that will be brought, it'll be considered to be a ram like the ram of Yitzchak. Namely what? The self-sacrifice and the thought that he had to sacrifice Yitzchak. That's what it says, Asher Yomer Hayom. It says, I will say Hayom today. Hayom, that was be said today. What does it mean to be said today? So that every day, where is it? Shebahar Hazayira, all the time, constantly, every day. It says the ashes of Yitzchak are as though it was on the altar. In other words, every sacrifice that was made, it's as though you were sacrificing Yitzchak himself. Because Yitzchak was supposed to be sacrificed, and in place of that was a ram. Why? What's the point? An animal? Because in the future, they're going to be the holy temple, and all the animals that will be going to sacrifice there, it is reminiscent of Yitzchak himself being sacrificed there. Also, he says, here, let me see if I can find this. He said that every time, why a ram? Where is this? I should have written it down. Okay, so he says, I think it was the Ramban. So he said that a ram has two horns in it, two horns. It says, interestingly enough, that when Adam sinned by eating the tree, and he was evicted from Gan Eden, so he made a sacrifice, and he took, it says in the Gemara, he took an ox that only had one horn. Why? Because Abraham, he did a horn signifies that he's, goring. He did a sin against God. But after that, because all the Jews are mixed in one with the other, so anytime a person does a sin, he does a sin against all the Jewish people as well, because everybody's mixed together. So that's the two horns. So that's the two horns. And that's the idea. One of the horns is the horn of Rosh Hashanah. Because Rosh Hashanah is the whole idea of this same forgiveness that was attained by the sacrificing of the ox, and by the sacrificing of this ram. And the interesting thing is that the ram was in the place of Yitzchak, but that's ridiculous. The ram was not Yitzchak. Was no problem sacrificing a ram. Sacrificing a son, that was hard. So he said that the whole thing is Abraham's intention. When Avram realized that God did not want him to sacrifice his son, but he did want him to sacrifice, and God said in the beginning, sacrifice your son. So when he saw this ram, he realized that this was like sacrificing of his son. And what linked the two of them together? Abraham's thought. Every time Abraham said, he said, this should be in the place of my son, Rashi says. So it's the same thing in the future. The sacrifice that were made in the temple, it depended on the intention that the person had. Right? A person brings, listen, all the sacrifices in the temple were only for what they call shogeg, accidental sins. Purposeful sins, you didn't bring sacrifice to the temple. But nevertheless, the intention that was behind it, that was the main thing. That's what he says. There's a lot of other interesting things, but we got a late start, and also there's a lot of material over here. So that's what he says, Yireh, I will show. Also when he says, Acher, let's see if we can get this. Let's just do this quickly. Go back one. Avram lifted up and he saw a ram achar, after. What does it mean, a ram after? What's the language is not right. But this is God talking. This is not written. So what does it mean? It says Rashi, Hine Ayel, this was ready before, from the beginning of creation. Achar, what does it mean? Achar, after the angel said, don't put your hand for it. Then he saw that this ram was caught in by its horns. In other words, it couldn't run away from it. Okay, but Karnav, it was running to Avraham. The ram, this was the ram waiting from the 6 days of creation. I mean, this is like 2,000 years, right? This ram has been waiting. So now the ram, why is it waiting? To be in place of Yitzchak. The Yitzchak wouldn't be sacrificed. So he says, Avram, the ram was running toward Abraham, and the devil made it get caught in these branches. It says, in the place of his son, it says, since it says God told him, bring him up for a sacrifice, so therefore God doesn't want to be lacking anything. So what does it mean in the place of his son? Therefore, it says everything that Avram did to the ram, he would pray to God and say, may it be God's will that this should be as though I am doing this to my son. My son was slaughtered. It's my son's blood that's being spilled. As though, and the fire will burn him up. This is as though my son is being burned up. This is as though this is his ashes. Okay, the Malbim doesn't really agree. There was the Kli Yakar over here. There he goes. Oh, the Kli Yakar says I'll achar a ram after. So he says this word, it should be that it's like, it seems to imply acher. It seems to imply that there was another ram. Ayal acher. This is another. Acher means another one also. This one acher. Give me another one. So he says it seems to imply that there was another ram over here, and they were running to him, and he had to separate between them. He said this is one of the first ones, because even though that it should have been acher, nevertheless we can say as though it was with acher. That's what he says. And then he says something that just is not really understandable. There's a big question mark over here. Let's not go. Okay, so that's what he wants to say. What does it mean that this ram was caught in its horns? He said this is like the Jewish people later on, that he saw that they would get caught. This is the Kli Yakar that he said it. That they saw that the Jewish people would get caught in their sins. They would be caught in their sins, and that it was his idea. That he says this idea that when man sinned, he says so therefore people have to bring sacrifices according to the level of sin that they do. The Kohen, it says, brings an ox. The more damage that they do, the bigger a poor person, he can just bring birds. A poor person, he just brings birds. And there's the whole idea is that you have to give up your energy to the Creator through this animal. And as I imagine this animal, what's happening to it, it should be happening to me. Because after all, who decides this is going to be an animal and this is going to be a person? God does. So in some way, the animal could have been a person. We really don't have any more time. But he says the results say that the shofar, the horn of the ram is reminiscent of the shofar that we sound on Rosh Hashanah. And it says that the sound of the shofar confuses the Satan. It confuses the devil. So, I mean, what, the devil doesn't know what's going on. Every year he knows that the shofar is going to be sounded. What is it? So what confuses the Satan? Here we see this whole story. It says it started off with the devil, right? The devil comes up to God and he says, I bet that, Yitzchak, that Abraham wouldn't sacrifice his son. I bet that. So he did. So he sacrificed his son. So this was very confusing to the devil, that a person decides that he's not going to care about himself. He's only going to care about what God wants, no matter what the cost. That's what's called tshuva. That's what's called returning back to the source. A person returns back to the source means that he realizes it's just a creation, that my life is not mine. It's all coming from God. My body is not mine. I'm being created all the time. The whole world is being created by God. So that's called going back to the source, tshuva. What causes this? The shofar, the horn. And this is reminiscent of what Abraham did. His whole life, all he lived for was just to have a son that would carry out his what. So, but if you go back to the source of Abram, what was the source of Abram? That God is creating him all the time. Don't worry, God knows what he's talking about. So this ram was significant of this return of Abraham back to his source, the connection back to his source, and not to think about what's going to be the repercussions of what's going to be. God told me to do it's going to be okay. And that's what confuses the Satan. When we sound the shofar and we return back to our source like Abraham did, as that's what confuses the Satan. It confuses the devil. This is what the Kli Yakar says. Very beautiful. Very beautiful. Okay, let us learn a little bit of the Shulchan Aruch. Let's see if I have it over here. I hope I do. No, looks like I don't. I did. We'll just do one law from the Shulchan Aruch. I had it before. Why don't I have it now? I don't know. We'll see. Here we go. Shulchan Aruch, Aruch Chaim. Take a gamble over here. Yes. Shin Ches, I don't want that. Let's see what we can do. Oh. Oh, big miracle. Baruch Hashem. Here we go. Shin Kaf Ches, the laws of healing. We are now on law number that. We did this. I think we did this yesterday, but we'll do it again. Any sickness can you see this? Yes, you're with me? Good. Any sickness that the doctors say that is a danger, even though that it's on the outside of his arm, and the person says, what are you talking about? It's a mosquito bite. It's not dangerous. A doctor says that it's dangerous, then you transgress the Shabbos. And if one doctor says that it's dangerous and you should transgress the Shabbos, and another doctor says that you don't have to, then you always go to be what's called lenient. You you disregard the Shabbat. Why? Because Safek Nafashat Lahakel. Anytime there's a doubt, even a slight doubt that a person is in danger, of course it has to be realistic, not just the person is a paranoid person, but that there's a genuine danger, as you're allowed to transgress the Shabbat in order to do something to alleviate that danger. Now, what if there is no doctor? Even if there is no doctor that's an expert, but there's somebody just says that he recognizes this disease that the person has, and it seems to him that you have to transgress the Shabbos, right? You transgress the Shabbos. A person has a broken, right, a displaced shoulder. So he says, well, it really hurts. So someone says, listen, I heard that someone died from that. So you can take him to, why? Because everybody is considered to be a little bit of an expert, especially the Jews. Jews, generally speaking, they care about each other. And of course, there's also, not lacking people that just don't know anything. They just want to talk. But generally speaking, if a person is willing to make a statement like that, this is a disease that a person could die from it. And you see that the person is normal, right? The one who's saying it is normal. Then if he says, okay, are you really sure? You can, yes, I'm sure you can transgress the Shabbos for him. And Safek Nafash is laka, because anytime there's a genuine doubt if someone's life is in danger, is you are allowed to transgress the Shabbat. Even if this person who himself is not a doctor, and this person himself is not sure, he says, Eshli Stapek, I think maybe there's a doubt here, maybe you'll need to transgress the Shabbos, then we transgress. It has to be that he says, I know what this disease is. I think that this is cholera. I think that this is malaria. I think that if he says that he knows what it is, and nobody contradicts him, right? There's no one saying, listen, you don't know what you're talking about. If the person still stands, let's say people do contradict him, he says, no, I'm telling you, I know what this is, and it could be that it's dangerous. If the person is serious, then you have the right to defile the Shabbos, and maybe you should defile the Shabbos for him. Nevertheless, a person who is not a doctor says, I think that you should transgress the Shabbos for this person. Let's not take any chances. Better safe than sorry. And an expert doctor says you're wrong. Then we go according to the doctor. The doctor says, even if the regular person says, listen, I am 100% sure that what this person has, this bump that this person has on his arm, this is deadly. It's from a scorpion, a bite from a yellow scorpion, and I'm sure this is going to kill him. If the doctor says, listen, I'm also a doctor, I know what a yellow scorpion bite looks like, and I'm telling you it's not dangerous for this person. If so, we listen to the doctor. All this is talking about a Jew. But if a Jew says, I know what this is a bite from a scorpion, a yellow scorpion, this could be dangerous, right? Then he says, are you sure? He says, I think so. I think it is. I'm pretty sure. Then we take him to the hospital. Unless there's a doctor there, if there's a doctor there that says it's not dangerous, then even if the ordinary person says, I am sure that this is dangerous, and the doctor says, I'm sure you're wrong, then we listen to the doctor. That's only talking about if a normal, regular Jew, a non-doctor Jew says things, we listen to him. But if a non-Jew, a Gentile, that he's not a doctor, and he says, wow, I think this is a bite from a yellow scorpion, then we don't treat him to be an expert, that we defile Shabbos because of him, if there's no Jew that knows what this disease is. So again, if the person himself says, listen, I don't feel good, I think you should take me to the hospital, then we take him. But the person says, I don't know what, I just saw that this thing is swollen up. I don't know what it is. And there's a Gentile that's there, and he says, this could be a bite from a yellow scorpion, and it could be dangerous, or it is dangerous, you have to take him to the hospital. Then you don't necessarily have to take him. You don't necessarily have to take him to the hospital. It's not necessarily a matter of life and death. That's what it says in the Shulchan Aruch. What if the sick person doesn't want to take the treatment? He doesn't want to take the medicine. And he doesn't want that you should transgress the Shabbos for him. And the doctor says that you have to. But he says, I don't want to. Kofin oto, we force him. This is what's called chasidut shel shtut. This is what's called chasidut, which is foolishness. Foolishness. The guy's putting himself into danger, totally unnecessary. Okay, I know that there's a lot of people that say this is definitely not in Chabad, but they say don't go to doctors. God will heal us. If you really believe in God, then God will always heal you. I mean, there certainly is something to that. There's no doubt that having faith in God certainly helps. To have faith in general helps in anything. Having faith in the doctor, it also helps, right? But having faith in God, God really is the ultimate healer. It is. And really, it's a big question. Why don't we just say that if a person gets sick, obviously this is what God wants. Nothing happens, by accident. So if a person gets sick, this is what God wants. And, if God wants him to get better, he'll get better. If he doesn't, then not. That's, pretty sort of an acceptable religious thing to say. The problem is it's not according to the Torah. It's not according to the Torah. The Torah says that the doctors have permission to heal. Rapu yirapeh. So because doctors have permission to heal, it means that it's not a bad thing to take a Jew and get healed by that. There's some people who don't go to the doctors at all. They don't even go on the weekday. But here, the Alter Rebbe and the Shulchan, that's why we have a Shulchan Aruch, to tell us that it is definitely permissible to transgress Shabbos in order to save a life. And not only is it permissible, but it is mandatory. And if a person refuses to, then this is called foolishness. A sick person that says, I need such and such a treatment. I have to have, a shot of something. And the doctor says, you don't need it. Until you don't need it. We listen to the sick person. Why? Because Leiv Yodea Marat Nafsho. The heart knows the bitterness of the soul. And a person knows what's going on inside of himself. If the doctor, though, says, She'oto atrufa, if you take that, mazik, it'll hurt you, then we listen to the doctor. If the person says, I need this, so if you have to take me to the hospital quick, I'm really dying. And the doctor says, he's not dying. What are you talking about? He's not dying. We listen to the sick person. But if the doctor says, listen, what this person is supposed to do, he's supposed to rest. Don't take him to the hospital. He's just going to get all nervous as it is. He's already nervous and anxious. And this could be the worst thing for him. So then we listen to the doctor. Let's do one more. Where is it? All right, this is a little bit long, so I don't know if we'll do it, but why not? We'll try. Come. All right, now before, what did we say? We said before that we always try to get a non-Jew to transgress the Shabbos, if possible. If possible. In the very beginning, we said that it's always best to have a Jew do it, and that they should do it. Even the rabbi should transgress the Shabbos to show everybody that's a good thing. And then afterwards, we brought another opinion, and the Rebbe afterwards said that that's the accepted opinion, that, listen, why transgress the Shabbat with a Jew if a non-Jew can do the same exact thing, and then they're not transgressing anything? Right? You take the person to the hospital. Why should a Jew take him to the hospital? If a non-Jew can do it and he's trustworthy and he can do it, it's the same thing. So have a non-Jew, especially if that non-Jew, we're talking about uniquely, if that non-Jew can do as good a job as the Jew, or at least even if he's a little bit sort of, lax, is that little bit of laxity, it won't endanger the person. It won't endanger. He'll do what he's told. The non-Jew will do it. So he said it's always better to have a non-Jew, that's what we said before, always better to have a non-Jew transgress the Shabbat in order to save a Jew's life, then, if possible, and it's just as efficient, then they have a Jew do it. Okay, that's what we said there. But now we're going to say a little bit different. Listen to this, and we're going to go over this, God willing, next week. A sick person that's in danger, and they estimated it, and on Shabbos he has to take a treatment, and this treatment is known that there's a malach, he has to take a shot. He has to take a Chilul Shabbos, Ches Yomim. He has to take the shot 8 days in a row. So, in Omrim, we don't say, 8 days in a row. So how does that work, 8 days in a row? So it means that the same day that you start, that's the day that you finish. So in other words, if you start the treatment on, let's say, Sunday, so it'll finish on Sunday, right? It'll start on Sunday, and the last day he gets the shot will also be on Sunday. Or you have to take him down to the hospital, and he has to get some treatment 8 days in a row. When does the doctor tell him he has to do this? He tells him on Shabbat. You have to do 8 days in a row. So what will a normal person think? A Jew, he'll say, listen, in 8 days, if I start the treatment on Shabbat, it means I'm going to end on Shabbat. I'm going to end up transgressing 2 Shabbases. If I just wait a few hours, right, until the sun sets, then it's already going to be not Shabbat. I can take him Motzi Shabbat to the hospital or give him the shot Motzi Shabbat. All I have to do is wait, 10 hours or whatever. And then I'll only be the transgressing next Shabbat. There's only 1, not 2. Good idea? Well, not such a good idea. We'll see. A person who is sick, he's got a life-threatening illness, and the doctor says he has to take an 8-day treatment. And this 8-day treatment, of course, Shabbat is going to come at least one of these days. So we don't say, listen, don't start it on Shabbat. Wait until Motzi Shabbat, and then it'll come out that you'll only have to transgress 1 Shabbat. We don't say that. But what do we say? Begin immediately. Even though it means that he's going to be transgressing 2 Shabbats instead of 1. And even though that certainly this person will not die today, not going to die today. The doctor already said that he has to do an 8-day treatment. That means he's going to live for 8 days. So if so, this is a disease which at least 8 days it takes for a person to die. So let's wait a little bit, and says no. Yesh lachush, we should worry that maybe if you delay it today, maybe he will die after the 8 days. What is the doctor saying? If you treat him for 8 days, then he's going to live. Right? 8 days is going to live. So a person can say, listen, you know what? Let's wait a couple hours and then we'll start the 8 days. Says no. It could be that if you delay it, if you don't start right now, then maybe he'll die. You have to start as soon as possible. Because maybe he'll die after the 8 days if you don't begin immediately. That's talking about if the doctor says so. But if it's in a place, if it's possible to do a healing immediately and not to defile the Shabbat, but you could just wait an hour or something like that, is then don't mechal Shabbat in order to do it immediately. If the doctor says, listen, there's absolutely, can we wait until Motzi Shabbat, doctor? The doctor says, absolutely, yes, you certainly can. Then you can do it. But if the doctor says, I'm not so sure, I think you have to start treating, grandpa as soon as you possibly can. This is not a simple disease he's got. Then start on Shabbat, even though it means 2. But if there's something that you can wait an hour or 2 and you know that you won't defile the Shabbos by starting it immediately and without waiting. So now you have a choice. Either you can wait for 3 hours and do it after Shabbat and there's no danger, or you can start immediately, which shows that you're really on top of the situation. It says, listen, if by delaying a few hours, it doesn't threaten the person's life, then delay. If it's in a way that there's no danger whatsoever, that even a smallest danger, if you delay a little bit. Because what's the law? Shabbos dechuya hi etzel pikuach nefesh v'lo hutra legamri. There's an argument. What does it mean that you can transgress the Shabbat in order to save someone's life? Does that mean that if a person has a life-threatening situation, that anything regarding this person it's like Monday or Tuesday? It's just not Shabbat anymore, right? You can do anything you want because it's not Shabbat. He says, listen, turn on the television. If I'm already sick, so turn on the television. I want to watch the World Series. You can say, okay, by this person, it's not Shabbat. That's what it means is hutra. Shabbat is released. Or maybe we say duhuya. Shabbat is just pushed aside. What does it mean it's pushed aside? For all of those things which are relevant to this person's health to prevent him dying, there is no Shabbat. But for other things, it is. Shabbat is just pushed away because of his disease. It's not pushed away, it's not negated because of him. So he says that's the law. Shabbat is only pushed away by when there's a life danger. And it's not released totally. It's not negated totally. Therefore, as long as you can save a person without defiling the Shabbos, so then don't push it away. And here it comes. Here it comes. Nevertheless, even if there is in front of us goyim, or children that are not yet b'nei mitzvah. So here's our perfect chance, right? And we do not say, Hari efshel asot al yadeilu, you know what? Why should I defile the Shabbat? All these problems of me transgressing Shabbos, if I can or not, that's because I'm a Jew. But take a non-Jew, and he can do it. Then there's no problem at all. So we don't say that. We don't say let the non-Jew do it, and then I won't have to defile the Shabbos. B'nei mitzvahs. Why? That since it is not the way to save a person in order to do work that's forbidden on Shabbos, so we say that Shabbos is already pushed away for this person. If a Jew by a Jew, so if we have to save grandpa, so doing work on Shabbat is not considered to be work. Shabbat is pushed away. It's officially permissible. It's not that I'm transgressing. I'm not transgressing anything. In order to save him, there's no transgression. Because a Jew is obligated to save another Jew. Therefore, there is no transgressing the Shabbat at all. Not only that, even if a Jew wants to be severe on himself, and he says that I don't want to defile the Shabbat. I'm not going to do it. I can't see myself getting in the car and turning on the keys. I can't do it. I'm a religious Jew. Let Ivan, our trusted servant, he'll take the grandpa to the hospital. Even if a Jew wants to be strict on himself and do it by means of a non-Jew or by means of a child, or Machmashe'enu wrote said he doesn't want to do it. He doesn't want to take the trouble. I'm going to have to drive grandpa to the hospital. I'm going to miss Shachris. I'm going to miss the whole meal. I'm going to have to be with him. And he doesn't care. He likes Ivan. Ivan and he get along together. He gets along better with Ivan than he gets along with me. So maybe he says, no. Even if you want to do it by means of the non-Jew, it's forbidden. Why? From the Sofrim, from the rabbis. Because if everyone sees that a Jew does not transgress the Shabbos for a sick person, then Shema Yomer, because then people who see it will say, Bekushi Yitira Pekuach Nefesh, that maybe the rabbis don't want us to transgress the Shabbat to save lives. Maybe the rabbis say it's really not a good thing to do by means of people that do mitzvahs. And then after that, what's going to come? So people will say, it'll be, so if you don't find a non-Jew or a child, then they won't want to defile the Shabbos at all. Even with women, which they're obligated, I feel nashim, even a woman, she sees grandpa is dying, she'll say, I don't want to do it. I'm not going to do the commandment. I'm sorry, no, I read wrong. It says, we do not let a non-Jew do it because people will say that it's forbidden. Simple people will say, you can't save a person's life. I saw the rabbi, there was someone sick in the congregation, and he gave it to a non-Jew to take him to, everyone will think that you have to find non-Jews. And what if you can't find one? So therefore, we do not give to a non-Jew to do. Okay. Also, we don't even give to a woman to do. Why? Because maybe the woman will, how do you say, be a little bit lazy. Lazy is not the word. Maybe she'll be a little bit unenthusiastic. Or yafashu, or maybe intentionally she'll take her mind off of what's going on. This is in general. But you can give it to a Jew, and a woman can help him out. That since there's a Jew, a male that's there, as she also will be careful and she'll do things very cautiously and carefully. I don't know how this plays out today, but maybe it does. I mean, generally speaking, these people in the emergency units are men. Once in a while, it's true there are women, but they're always together with men. I've never seen an emergency unit or, these first aid medics or whatever, paraplegics or paramedics, not paraplegics, paramedics Um, women, only women. I never saw. Maybe because they're not as strong and they can't lift people. I don't. Anyway, the Alter Rebbe says, nevertheless, if someone is in danger, we do not give it over to a non-Jew for the reason we said, and we also do not give over to a woman because it could be that a woman will not be as enthusiastic about saving this person. Nevertheless, the best thing is to try to do everything by means of a Jew, an older Jew, a Talmid Chacham, Gedolim B'Chachma, and not even by a simple Jew or by women. Why? Because so in order that Shabbat should not be easy in their eyes. We'll see that the rabbi is doing it himself. If you say, listen, there's no big deal. They let the women transgress it. It's no thing. He was saying the rabbi himself is doing it to save a person's life. Oh, Shabbos is very important, and life is even more important. Then they'll come to be lenient, even in a place where there is no danger, and they'll say, I see that the rabbi let women do it, so I can transgress it even when there's no danger. And also in order to show that this is halacha l'maisa. All right, we continue. Finally, he says, some people say that no, exactly the opposite. It's better to do things by means of a non-Jew. Better to do things by means of a non-Jew. And he says the main thing is the first opinion, that if someone is in danger, you should transgress the Shabbos by means of a Jew. But nevertheless, the custom in these countries is, like it said over there, try to do it by means of a non-Jew if you can. Okay, so that's it. I mean, listen, here we are in Israel. I don't know how it is in other places, but if the ambulance comes to help a person to take them away, generally speaking, we don't ask, excuse me, are you Jewish? Are you not Jewish? So here he says the custom is that it's not so bad to find a non-Jew to do it. You should try to find them. We're gonna go over this, God willing, next week. We'll do a Yud Gimel on Yud Gimel. All right, let's just do a little bit of a Mishna, okay, so that we get our full schedule today. Yochanan, you can stay with us. Are you with us? 1 second. Okay, yes, good. All right, here we are. Mishnah. Let me see, let me try it another way. Oh, you didn't. Just one moment. Just one moment. I'm trying to find. All right, I get it. So. Please bear with me. I'm just trying to find the address to come in here. Yeah. All right, we're learning Makot. Makot. All right, we finished the first chapter. We're starting the second chapter. Okay, the Makot, this talks about getting beaten, right? The lashes, receiving lashes. We've spent a surprisingly little amount of time. The Mishna spends a surprisingly little amount of time talking about lashes. We haven't really talked about it very much at all. And we talked about this thing of Eidim Zomamim. Okay, now we're in the second chapter of Makot, and we're going to talk about a totally also another different subject, not getting beaten. We're talking about the cities of refuge. The cities of refuge is a bizarre law, just like this Eidim Zomamim is a strange law. Why? Because we believe the second set of witnesses in order to kill the first set of witnesses. Why should the second set of witnesses be more believed than the first? It's strange. Here's also another law. There's what's called a city of refuge. According to Judaism, if someone kills someone else, then the murderer has to run immediately to a city of refuge. Now, there are no cities of refuge, so the law obviously does not apply. But it used to be that if someone killed someone else, even if he killed on purpose, he would immediately run to a city of refuge. And all the time that he was in the city of refuge, he would be protected. Protected from who? It says the relatives of the murdered person had a right to take revenge. He had a right to take revenge. Strange law. And to tell you the truth, I really don't understand the law 100% even now. After I haven't really spent that much time looking at it. But why is it strange? Why? Because even if somebody kills someone by total accident, we'll see he's going up a ladder and a rung breaks and someone happens to be passing by and he falls off the ladder onto this person and kills him. So it was total accident. Nevertheless, he killed someone. He has to run to the city of refuge. And then he's tried. And if they find that he was totally innocent, he did nothing, so they let him free. If they find that he was totally negligent, then he gets punished accordingly. We'll see what the punishment is. He doesn't get killed. Killing is only if you warn the person and you tell him. A person that you warn and you tell him he can't run to a city of refuge. He was warned he has. And then there's a person who kills from negligence. And negligence, that person has to remain in the city of refuge all of his life. If he steps foot out, the relatives of the deceased have a right to kill him. While he's there, until the high priest dies. As soon as the high priest dies, then he can go out, and the relatives have no right to kill him anymore. Strange law. Now we're going to learn some of the details. These are the people that are sent to a city of refuge. A horig nefesh b'shigaga, one who kills someone by accident. That's it. Ha yamagil b'magela v'nafla alav v'hargo. So then let's look and see what this is. Let's see what this is. Let's go down. All right, let's first of all do the introduction, and that should be sufficient for today. Yeah. According to the law, someone who kills someone else by accident, we'll see what type of accident, he goes to a city of refuge. This chapter of the Mishna comes to tell the details that which are the people, which type of accidents does the person have to go into exile, and what should you do with these people? So the Rebbe is going to say, in general, this is what I just finished telling you. In general, there's three types of accidental deaths. Number one, shogeg gamor, a total accident. That in fact, there was not any negligence here at all. But a person just had to be careful. For instance, a person had a stone in the pocket of his coat, and he knew about it. And the stone fell out. Let's see, it was on top of a roof or something. Stone happened to fall out of his pocket, and he killed someone. And he knew, but he forgot. And then, not it fell out, I'm sorry. And he knew that he had a big stone, and he threw his garment at someone else, had killed someone. The stone fell out. He should have watched the stone. He killed someone. Then he has to go to exile. That's number one. And there's a complete mistake. Then we have a mistaken death, accidental death, that's close to purposeful. Namely, pure negligence. We'll see. A person kills somebody else from reasons that are not common, that it was impossible to think. I'm sorry, what did I do? Shogeg Gomer, huh? I skipped. Oh, I'm sorry. Shogeg, because I misread. Shogeg shekora la'onis, an accident which is close to being, what's it called? Forced, coerced. This is not close to purpose. Sorry. This is an accident which is close to being forced by nature. What happened? A person kills somebody from a totally unusual way that you would never think that he could. For instance, he had a stone in his pocket. He threw the stone out of his pocket where people are not usually going. And all of a sudden, somebody happened to pass by there. And the stone hit him, and the person got killed. In such a situation, the murderer is totally exempt from going to exile. And if the relatives of the murdered person kill him, then they'll be killed. They're guilty of murder. So if we have a murder which was a murder which was a total accident, right? Administered a total accident. A murder which is a mitzvah total accident, a mitzvah which only came because he wasn't careful enough. That's the first one. Wasn't careful. He should have been a little bit careful. That's the thing about the stone in his pocket. He should have been careful. He had a rock in his pocket, and he threw his coat at somebody, or he threw the rock at somebody, or the rock fell from him. And nevertheless, he should have been careful with this rock, and he wasn't. That's the first case. A person that he should have been careful, in other words, negligence, unintentional negligence, that person, that's who the cities of refuge are for. That's number one. Number two are people that are totally accidental. A fluke thing that happened that it would never, we'll see what the details are. And then there's the third type, which that is shogeg, which this is total negligence. A person does something that he knew could kill someone. For instance, he walks in a dark place, total dark, with a knife in his hand, sticking in front of him, and he stabbed someone and killed him. In such a case, he does not go to the cities of refuge, and he has to run to the city of refuge, but the city of refuge won't accept him. They take him to court, and also if they find him guilty, and the Goel Adam, if he runs to a court, and if he runs to the city of refuge, and the avenger from the family kills him, then they're exempt. So that's the three types we have. One is that a person was responsible to watch something and he didn't watch it. That person has to spend the rest of his life in a city of refuge. The other one is a total accident. That person goes free. The third one is a person that he did something which was close to being purposeful, but not really. Like he pulled out a sword and he was swinging a sword around in a crowded place. He didn't intend to kill anybody, just to scare people. But you don't do a thing like that. That person, he is taken out and given a different punishment. Person is taken a different punishment, which we'll talk about, God willing, next time. Here, let's just have one example here. Elohim Agolin, these are the people that are sent to the city of refuge. The city of refuge, like we said before, we'll explain it later in the fourth Mishnah. A person that kills someone, by accident, like it says, Ari Miklat Tien Alechem V'Nosham Rotzeach, that he kills someone bishgaga by accident. How? If a person was rolling a big stone, b'magela, haya megalgal even agula, if he was rolling a big stone on his roof, let's say, for instance, just put tar on there. So he was rolling this big stone in order to make it smooth, like one of these steamrollers. But he was doing it by hand. He wanted to smooth out the tar that he put on top of it. And suddenly he lost control of this stone and it killed somebody. All of a sudden the stone rolled off the roof and it killed someone below. Or another case, if he was lowering a barrel and the barrel jumped from his hand and fell on someone and killed him, even though he was careful, that right, he was very careful. He didn't want the barrel to break and he didn't want the stone to roll off. Or if he was coming down a ladder and suddenly slipped and he fell on his friend, he was coming down the ladder and he killed him. So these three people, these are examples of a person has to go to the city of refuge. Then all these cases, this is called what we call, it's shogeg. This is an accident. It's an accident. He was responsible and he knew it could happen, right? He had this big barrel. If it fell on somebody's head, he knew it could be fatal. Or he was coming down the ladder. Coming down the ladder, you have to be careful. You have to watch where you're going. He knows it could be possible that he could fall. A person like that, he has to run to the city of refuge and he stays there for the rest of his life until the Kohen Gadol dies. But if he was lifting up this stone, this steamroller stone from below to above, and then it slipped and fell on his friend, and it fell from the roof onto someone else, or he was lifting up a barrel and it slipped from his hand and it fell on his friend, or he was going up the ladder and he fell on his friend, then this person does not go to a city of refuge. This is called shogeg korov la'onis. This is called accidental, but it's close to being coerced. In other words, it's not his power, right, to do it. His direction was going up. If he's going up, then he's not guilty. A person going up the ladder, he's only thinking about going up. He doesn't have to be thinking about falling down. This is the general principle. Kol shebaderech yiridaso, anytime that someone kills someone when he's going down, we're going to learn about chopping wood, that he killed somebody in the time when he was going down or he was bringing something down, then that person should have known better and he goes to the city of refuge. like it says, "In bepeta below eva hadafo, o b'chol evan asher yamut bo below ra'ot." If he killed somebody with a stone that he should have watched the stone and it fell on the person who died, then this person goes to the city of refuge. For Dorshu, the rabbis learn he fell on him. What does it mean? That it has to be going down. He was going down and he just didn't control this barrel or the stone or himself. He fell off a ladder. If he's going down, then that's called negligence that he is responsible for. Then the danger, it's a common thing when you're taking things down that they fall. He should have been careful. Since he wasn't careful, so this, he has to spend the rest of his life in the city of refuge. And if he steps out, the avenging family can kill him. But if he was doing any of these things in a way of going up, if he killed somebody in the time when he was going up, or in the time when he himself was going up, or he was lifting something up from below to above, then this is not so common that things slip from your hand when you're going up. And also it's harder to be careful because he's making this effort to go up. Therefore, this is what's called a total accident, and it's close to onus, and he does not go to the city of refuge. And we'll continue learning this, God willing, on Sunday. Have a good Shabbat. If you want to come tomorrow morning, 8:15, and we'll learn Chassidut from 8:15 to 9 o'clock. Only one class. Looking forward to seeing you all. God bless you. Have a good day. And Shabbat Shalom if I don't see you tomorrow.